Once you establish yourself as a working television director, do you interview for your next job?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you do a lot of, you know, so it's a lot of general meetings before you ever get hired, which is basically will I get along with you? Are you crazy meeting? You know what I mean? Like, and you do a lot of generals, so more and more people can say, oh, yeah, competent person, nice enough person, like, you get what we're doing over here at our company? Maybe, you know? And somewhere along the line, someone's gonna say, okay, we're gonna hire you, like Kenya Barris did for me in 2017. And so then you begin to build your resume. Hopefully you get invited back to a show, because that's kind of, so if the general meeting went well and people were like, okay, talented, not crazy, you get what we're doing over here, getting invited back is the affirmation of that. Oh, they must not have been crazy. They must have really done a nice job, and they must have really understood what the show wanted. The kind of industry, not wisdom, but saying or whatever, thought is that when you see someone with a bunch of one episode at a bunch of different places, it's like, well, why aren't you ever going back, right? And so you get invited back, then you do more and more shows. The beauty of today that might mask the invited back is that a lot of shows are doing block episodes where, like I did 2 at one time. So it might look like you got invited back. But once you do enough work, the work itself begins to be what vets you. So someone may say, oh, we're thinking about, or even for like the shows that I'm on where we are looking for directors, you'll say, oh, they've done X, Y, Z, blah, blah. And you can just look and tell that have the skill set to do your show. Then you'll probably call around and see if there are people that you think, people that know that person that can, give you a little bit more insight into them. So that's where the reputation and that community is really important. And then after that, you always have some kind of Zoom, which is maybe less of a meeting. Like they'll get to know you, and you'll probably speak really specifically to the show. So it's not a general, it's like about this show. And at that point, I feel like it's probably your job to lose. So I guess the long answer to your question is, at this point, I'll either get an offer or I'll get like an outright offer. They want you to do this block of episodes because they've done enough vetting that they feel like they don't need to speak directly to me, or they already know me, or they want to have a meeting on Zoom. And if it's at that point, they're probably highly considering me for the job, and that's the final step.
What are a few do's and don'ts for a general? Maybe don't speak too much. You might say the wrong thing, or
I think meetings are, you got to find a way to still be yourself in an unnatural environment, because it's kind of like speed dating, you know what I mean? And so I feel like the do's are to be very clear have a very clear and concise way to deliver your backstory and who you are, your bio, your origin story, to be very clear on why you want to do the show. Hopefully who you are and what you've done connects to the show. So then it becomes to make almost perfect sense why you should be directing it, Don't come in there and be unaware of the person you're talking to. There are so many opportunities to find a connective thread that Google will help you with, whether it's, oh, you went to NYU, or, oh, you're from New Jersey, or you worked with the person I know, on so-and-so project, and they say hi. Like any little thing that, that's not going to get you the job, but it begins to warm things up a little bit. And I think be clear about, what you offer to the show, and ask questions. I think to come in and not have any questions belies a person who's not very curious, because with those questions you gain information. Not that I'm the model for it, but like I'm thinking like you asked me a question about this person versus that person, and I'm like, well, what is that person's goal? Because that's going to help me kind of, answer the question. And sometimes in a meeting, asking questions helps you figure out what you might not want to say.
And just absolute don'ts.
Well, yeah, it's the don't come in there unprepared. Whether that's in understanding the person in front of you, in understanding their bio or some portion of it that you can, because sometimes I've come across a few people where it's like, you scrubbed yourself from the internet somehow, and I don't know how you did that, but I don't know anything about you. So their personal bio, their bio here at this job, what do they have the power to do, right? Are they the person who hires, or are they the person who weeds out? And then, this is the meeting that gets you to the next person who may actually be able to hire. Like, what projects are they proud of? Has anything been greenlit recently? Or, did a show just premiere last week? Watch that show and be able to talk about it, because that shows that you're invested in what they do as well. Because at the end of the day, I think the way I try and view working professionally in a world full of collaborative, creative people is I want as many people to make their projects as possible. I'm here to be a support for that, whether maybe it's feedback, or maybe it's directing an episode, or, maybe it's a go get 'em champ, but providing that type of energy, I think, is something that folks are happy to have around them.
And lastly, how early is too early?
For what?
To show up at one of these meetings.
Oh, how early is too early to arrive? I mean, make sure you're there on time. I try and get there 30 minutes early, but then you won't see me in the lobby until, 5 minutes before. You know
Sure,
what I mean?
okay.
Maybe 10. 10's a good amount of time, because you do want to give yourself time to get in, sit down, run through whatever you might have prepared again. Sometimes it might be going into the bathroom and stretching out a little bit, or whatever you need to do. But don't walk in there at 1:28 for 1:30, because unless you've got some abilities that I don't have to smoothly transition to meeting mode.
You don't go in expecting to be hired. Instead, you go in to make it impossible for them not to hire you? Mm-hmm. Okay. How is that different?
So, the way I view it is, and this is like, I think a big takeaway from the book is that I'm big on viewing things through the prism that I can control, right? And viewing things in a way that, really prevents getting beaten down by the realities of what we do in a world where you're selected or not selected for reasons known and unknown, fickle and arbitrary, and sometimes spot on. And so my thought was, when I was trying to get jobs, and I still carry it with me, is that I understand that there are people who will be easier to hire for a particular job. And that happens now, But my job is to come into this meeting and make it the most challenging decision for them to not hire me. So what does that mean? I'm going to come in and tell my bio origin story, and it's going to be, concise. It's going to be, whatever, funny. I'm going to give you the best me that's honest, but designed to, connect with what we're talking about here as a project as possible. I'm going to show you that I've done my research. I'm going to speak about the show because I've watched enough to develop a point of view that's informed. I'm going to be interested in asking questions about it. I'm going to let you know outright how much I want to do this show. All the things that make it where you're like looking at the grid of people up for it. You may have somebody that's done more work than I have in this particular genre or just at all, but maybe they weren't as exciting a meeting. Maybe they didn't outright tell you they want the job. Maybe they didn't, get into a really deep dive conversation into the show, and I understand why you would still hire them over me if, for all the reasons that make hiring what hiring is, but I want that to be a tough decision. And my thought was if I can build a Rolodex, a database, a spreadsheet full of meetings where that was the end result, at some point, somebody's gonna be like, all right, this is the right one for him.
I see. So then it's kind of nebulous, this like, I'm going there to get hired versus I'm going to make sure that they can't not hire me. Because that seems like it checks more boxes. Mm-hmm. I feel like that's clearer to me.
And it's the actor's audition, right? Like the actor's audition is, you can't audition to get the job. Like that, if you do that, you're going to be depressed because how many jobs are you going to get? You have no control over that, but what you can do, and this is from me on the other side of the table, like watching auditions, like the auditions that land are, I can tell that you had a perspective, you made a choice, you prepared and you executed on that choice. And whatever those three things were, you provided a tape that was your best presentation of those things. And then ain't nothing else you can do about it. You know what I mean? Like we can debate, we might say, well, she's, the person that we've already cast for her sister, she doesn't look anything like her and it's a big stretch because that's important. And so no, we don't hire that person. And they may have been the best person, but there's another reason why they might not have gotten the job. And so, directors are auditioning in somewhat of a similar way. And just taking the reins and making sure like you show them what you can do, show them who you are and let them decide, but make it hard.
And how do you say, I would love to take on this opportunity? Or is that what you say?
That's what I would say. Outright.
So maybe other people might think that, but that's too passive and they just go, okay, great. So yeah, just please keep me in mind. Like you basically let it be known.
Let it be known.
I want this.
Because there's, and my estimation is that on this fictitious sheet of paper of names that are up for something, maybe one or two of them are doing it because their agent said they should. All right. And maybe it's attractive to the people behind the show because, it's so-and-so, or maybe they, used to be so-and-so, like, cool. But like, I'm going to come in and there will be no doubt, and in a world of meetings where folks are having 40 meetings a week, like these things begin to stand out.
And lastly, do you send a follow-up email or even a card?
Well, it depends. Sometimes there are a lot of relationships where I don't have any of these folks' information because the reps set the meeting.
Gotcha.
And then you go, and that's kind of how the reps remain where they remain, as the conduit. And then sometimes I'll have folks who will like be like, oh, here's my card. And then that kind of lets you know, the meeting went well, but also they have a maybe different kind of relationship they're trying to build.